Hey, what's going on, beautiful jellyfish? It's Tracy. Thank you so much for taking a little bit of time today to hang out with me. I really appreciate it. Before we jump in, would you like to say something? Look at her. This is Zelda's first time on camera. I'm pretty sure. Zelda, how do you feel? To all your fans out there, what do you have to say for yourself? Just a really intense glare. Okay, that's fine. Basically, they've gotten to the point where they're, like, literally unhappy unless they're, like, literally right next to me. Actually, I don't know where Leia is right now. That's not, I shouldn't say that's true, but Zelda is, she'll just be chilling there pretty much unbothered, be doing her own thing this entire time. I don't know how sitting on a desk is comfortable, whereas there's millions of other places she could be in this house that are way more comfortable than my desk, but I guess I'm not in those places, so she doesn't care. Okay, so basically, in today's video, we're going to be talking about black staples. This is part 3. I don't know why I held up 4, because 4 is very different from 3. This is part 3, y'all. Here we are. I really, 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 really love black. I don't, it's so hard for me to say it's my favorite color in Commander, but judging by the fact that, like, I don't think I've done the other parts up to part 3, like, this is my first part 3, I think is saying something. I really enjoy black. There's a lot of really awesome black staples that I'm really excited to chat with you guys about. I will be listing part 1 and part 2 in the down bar below, just in case you want to check those out. I'm pretty sure I already have part 4 planned. So basically, I only talk about 10 cards in these videos, and then I save my other cards that I want to talk about in future parts. So if I don't feature a card that you were like, oh, I was surprised that you didn't talk about this, there's probably a really good chance that I will be featuring it in a future part. These videos are really great for someone who is just getting into Commander. You're looking for a couple of staples, really good cards that belong in a variety of different decks and could work in a lot of different things. Well, let's just jump into it. Let's first start talking about this card, which this card is literally so ridiculous, and I think did I actually end up picking one up, or geez, it's still on my list? I can't remember if I actually picked one up yet, or I need to pick one up, but Grim Haruspex, this card is insane. It is 3 mana, and this says, whenever another non-token creature you control dies, draw a card. No downside. Well, the downside is that it dies, but honestly, if you're playing black, there's a really solid chance that you're playing some sort of recursion or some sort of, like, I don't care if my things die. It does say non-token. Let's be honest, this card would be even more ridiculous if it said tokens as well. That would be literally insane. Whenever a creature you control dies, draw a card. That's insane. A thing about black card draw a lot of times is that it does say that you have to lose life in order to draw the cards. And so, there's this one card, I think it's called Undead Augur. It's a zombie, and it's very similar to this card. I believe it's 2 mana, and it's whenever a zombie you control dies, you get to draw a card, but you lose a life. And it's not a May ability, and I'd be really scared that I would just have a ton of zombies, and they would all die, and I would just, draw a lot of cards, but I would just die on the clapback because I would be losing so much life. This card doesn't really have that downside. Yeah, it does trigger because you do need things dying, but again, it's black, and it's also Commander. Things are dying left and right. So this card is absolutely insane. I love it so much. Okay, Disentomb. There's just some times where I'm just like, how is this card only 1 mana? And how is this card literally under $1? So if you're looking for a good budget card, here you go. Disentomb is great. It's 1 mana. You return target creature card from your graveyard to your hands. Now, it does say creature cards, so you're not able to get other things. To be honest with you, if you are doing Reanimate stuff, there's other cards that you can run that do get anything back. But this is only creature card, but it's only 1 mana, which is so incredibly cool. So something that I'll do is when I'm playing Tasigur, for example, is I'll, like, have to discard my thing or whatever, and then I'll Disentomb it back, or my thing dies, and then I just Disentomb it, get it right back to my hand, which is such a great Reanimate card. This card's awesome. It's so good. It's a great budget card as well, too. Cool. Let's talk about Go for the Throat. It is a spot removal spell. There are, like, a ton of these that you could run, and Go for the Throat is just one option for them. It's 2 mana instant speed, which is really great, and it's destroy target non-artifact creature, so it's not going to hit everything. It's not going to hit your artifact things, your opponent's artifact things, but it's instant speed for 2 mana. There's not really a whole lot to say. It's a spot removal card, very similar to things that we've seen in the past, but it's a pretty solid EDH staple. Okay. Decree of Pain. This card is pretty cool. So this card says it's a lot of mana. Let's just, like, throw that out there right now. It's 8 mana, and it's sorcery speed, and it's destroy all creatures. They can't be regenerated, which Oh my gosh, what was I? We were in a conversation with this, not this card, but we were actually talking about Regenerate the other day, and something had come up, and it's so funny because I think a lot of times, you know, sometimes with that effect you're like, oh, whatever, it doesn't matter, but this actually came up the other day in one of our things, and I was like, oh my gosh, the fact that it says can't be regenerated is actually really a handy thing to have on hand. That was one of the weirdest things I've probably ever said. But it says you draw a card for each creature destroyed this way, which is really cool. If you got like a, you know, huge board or whatever, there are definitely other removal spell or board wipes that you can run in black. This is just one if you just need a little bit of extra card draw. You've board wiped, you've put yourself back, and then you've also put your opponents back. You want to draw those extra bits of cards, which is really cool. Or you can cycle it for 5 mana, and then it says when you cycle it, all creatures get -2/-2, so you do have a chance to destroy multiple things this way as well. Not the safety net of the not cycle cost, but still you can remove a solid amount of things that way. Okay, the next card, one of my personal favorite cards, that is Gray Merchant, or as we like to refer to him, Gary, you know. Gary is 5 mana for a 2/4, and it says when it enters the battlefield, each opponent loses X life, where X is your devotion to black, and you gain life equal to the life loss this way. This card is ridiculous. If you have a ton of black symbols, please run Gray Merchant. This is, best case scenario, I would say, is running Gary in a mono black deck, but if you do run him, I could see you getting away with running him in like a 2-color deck. I wouldn't go beyond that. I don't think that he would really shine there, but mono-colored, literally just think about it like this. You Gray Merchant for like 10, and then you literally have everybody lose 10, and then you have 3 other opponents, and then you just gain 30 life. What? Also, this card is really cool too if it dies and you want to, like, you know, that Disentomb that we talked about earlier, or whatever. There's another card that recurs things that we're going to talk about in a little bit. You can get this back onto your battlefield, and guess what? You get to do it again. And you know what black really loves to do is play recursion. This card's awesome. I love this card. Every time I like have this card, I'm like, even if I Gray Merchant for like 6, I'm like, cool. Or like 7 or whatever. Like, even if it's not like the most, it's still like, that's still so good. Okay, the next card is Phyrexian Arena for my people who like to gain a little bit of gain life. That's the opposite. We lose life for the people who like to draw cards, which you should be someone who wants to draw cards because it's the best thing that you can do in Commander. Phyrexian Arena is a really solid card. It is at the beginning of your upkeep, you draw a card and you lose a life. It is 3 mana though, which is pretty nice. You know, getting this card out on like turn 2, turn 3, and beyond, you're going to be in a pretty decent position. I like to run this card in conjunction with other things. I like to run this card in conjunction with things like Read the Bones, for example, cards that are like enchantments that are going to stay around, and then those instant and sorcery cards that gain, why do I keep wanting to say gain life? That draw you cards, that's what I'm trying to say here, is I like running a mix of those sorts of things, just in case someone destroys my enchantment, I still have ways of doing that, but Phyrexian's a really solid choice in order to do that, so yeah, great card. Alright, so I just actually had to look up to see if this card was banned, because I don't know why, but in my head I was like, is this card banned in Commander? It's not. I don't know why I thought that it was. Opposition Agent. This card is awesome. Okay, it's 3 mana for a 3/2 with Flash. We love that. You control your opponents while they're searching their libraries. This is just dumb. Like, this is just absolutely ridiculous. Like, do you know the amount of times that people tutor in Commander and search their libraries? It's ridiculous. Oh my gosh. I feel like if I'm not shuffling my library at least 10 times in Commander, game, what am I doing? Like, honestly. Whenever an opponent is searching the library, they exile each card they find. You may play those cards for as long as they remain exiled, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast them. Okay, this card's ridiculous on so many levels, and it's 3 mana. 3 mana. This card is insane. So I also feel like too, you know, your opponent is like, okay, I'm gonna, you know, do whatever, I'm gonna search, and you're like, okay, cool, Opposition Agent, right? And you do that, and then you're like, cool, so then you stop them, but then it's every time. It's not just like a one-time thing, it's like an every time thing. So every time anyone's gonna tutor, you're like, cool, and then when they're searching, they're gonna exile the card that they find. So like, let's just say you're gonna get something really, really great. You may play them
So you get to play them. So you get to search and you get to get their super cool thing. And then you get to play them. And you can spend mana of any color. And I feel like a lot of times cards like where you get to play things, you know, from your opponent's library, I've always liked those cards, but I've never liked the fact that it's made you pay only mana that you have. I love the fact that this card says that you can spend mana of any color in order to play them. This card is ridiculous, and it is 3 mana. This card is absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm just gonna like tutor through my opponent's deck, get something super cool, and then cast it every time they tutor. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And then the thing, too, is, you know, they do that, and then presumably they probably will never tutor once this card stays on the field, because that would just be really dumb. But then you're just stopping them from doing their tutors, from getting their lands, all that sort of stuff. This card's ridiculous. Absolutely. Okay. Speaking of tutors, Vampiric Tutor. Card's awesome. It's 1 mana instant. You search your library for a card, you shuffle your library, you do put it on top, and you lose 2 life. Now, there's a ton of different tutors that all kind of do the same sort of thing. This one is instant speed. You do lose 2 life out of the exchange, but it's only 1 mana, but it's also instant speed, and you do put it on top. Probably the best thing to do with this is to play it at like the end of your opponent's turn, or you're going to play this and then you know you're going to draw a card right on after, and then you get to just immediately draw that card. Because I would always be nervous about doing it like on, let's just say, my turn, and then it comes around the turn cycle and someone's made me mill or shuffle my library or like whatever the situation may be. Vampiric Tutor is just the best case scenario to do it when you know you're going to pretty safely and confidently draw that card. But yeah, overall, it's a really, really great tutor. We talked a little bit earlier about another card that you can bring stuff back from your graveyard, and what better card than to talk about Reanimate? This card's awesome. Okay. So, Reanimate is 1 black mana. Put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. Now, let's just chat about that for a hot second. So, one of my personal favorite things to do with this card is to discard something, or like I play this in Tasigur, so I'll mill something with Tasigur, and then it's my super big thing that it's like my Razaketh or something like that. And it's just casually in my yard. And then I pay 1 mana to get that thing back, which is insane. Insane. You do lose life equal to its CMC, so that is just something to note. You are going to hurt yourself a little bit. But to be honest with you, if I'm paying 1 mana for a Razaketh and then I pay 8 life, do I care? Let's think about that for a second. No, I do not care, because I'm paying 1 mana for a Razaketh, and then I just get to activate my Razaketh and tutor for all the things and just do crazy things. So yeah, this card's awesome. I also too just want to note that you don't have to pick something in your yards. Let's just say you want to reanimate some other person's thing. What's really cool about this too is that it is because you can target your opponent's stuff. If let's just say they're also playing a reanimator deck where they're, playing graveyard sort of shenanigans, you could eventually stop them from getting the thing, and then you get the cool thing instead. Or if they just don't even have reanimator things, and then you just want to steal their really big dumb thing because you just want to do that, yeah, absolutely go for it. Honestly, the possibilities are truly endless with this card. This card's awesome. Love it, love it, love it, love it. Okay. The last card we're going to talk about in this video is Torment of Hailfire. This card is so fun. So this says, repeat the following process X times. So you can pay like whatever mana you want into this card, you can do it. Repeat the following process X times. Let's just say you pay let's just say 5 mana into this, right? Each opponent loses 3 life unless they sack a non-land permanent or discard a card. So in some way, shape, or form, you're hitting your opponents. Either they're losing life, sacking a non-land permanent, which is really awesome, so it doesn't just hit creatures, it hits their artifacts, their enchantments, all that sort of stuff, or they discard a card. This is really great because, you're gonna hit, this does say sacrifice, so when you're running into, boards that are indestructible, for example, Torment of Hailfire gets around that, which is a really, really awesome thing, so I'd really recommend this card. I just like this card too because it's X, so you literally can just dump whatever amount into it and its opponent, so it doesn't hit you. So all your stuff gets to stay, and then you're putting your opponents in a really type position, because they have to pick, okay, what is the most valuable thing? My non-land permanents, my hands, or my life total? And maybe it's a combination of all those sorts of things, you know what I mean? So they do get to repeat it X amount of times, which is just really awesome. This card is just so fun. It's such a fun little thing. It's kind of a not guaranteed board wipe, like you know, it's not like a damnation or anything like that, because you don't know, they might choose the life and they might choose the cards in their hand. But either way, they probably don't want to do any of those things. The only way I could really see them like this not really doing a whole lot to your opponents is if, let's just say they have a ton of life where they don't really care about the 3 life. But again, even if you do this like 5 times, that's still 15 life. That might mean something, you know, it just kind of depends on what they're playing. But the fact that too, if they have like, maybe it does say second online permanent, so let's just say they have like a ton of tokens that they're able to sacrifice, or they just have like a ton of cards in their hand or whatever. I don't know. There's ways that this card might not do as much as it leads onto, but for the most part, like, I feel like this card's going to be pretty, like, if you're casting this and you're in a 4-person game and you're hitting 3 of your opponents, it's guaranteed to hit at least 1 person pretty bad, which seems like a pretty good deal to me. And you can pay any amount of mana into it, which is awesome. So yeah, guys, that is everything for chatting about black staples. This is part 3. I would really love it if you guys would let me know what some of your favorite black staples are, and they might be featured in part 4 or part 5. I think I already have part 4 mapped out. Yeah, that sounds about right for me. But anyways, I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel if you're not already, and I'll catch you in my next one.